All right, Larry Kruger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as the Niners worked out some wide receivers and some quarterbacks, and we'll tell you who they worked out and what we think of them coming up next. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them Krug sent you. And 49er football this season, all season long, is presented by Sleeper on the Krug Show, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use promo code Larry, and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, 49ers. Going through this season, having a lot of injuries. They've had injuries at the quarterback position. They've had injuries at the wide receiver position. And this week they brought in some guys to work out and some interesting names. So let's talk about the guys they brought in. They brought in 3 quarterbacks. They brought in 4 wide receivers for workouts. Let's start with the quarterbacks. The first one is a guy named Quentin Dormady, who is the son of a high school coach. He's a 29-year-old quarterback prospect who played at 3 colleges, played at Central Michigan, played a little bit at Houston, played at the University of Tennessee, and has bounced around. He is a secondary league specialist at this point. He's had stints in the XFL, the UFL, the CFL. He's 29. As I said, he's the son of a high school coach, and big body too, 6'5", 220 pounds. So Quentin Dormady was one of the quarterbacks they worked out. Big quarterback prospect who, has played in every secondary league there is. The second quarterback was Nathan Peterman, who's a 31-year-old quarterback, former Raider, former Pitt Panther. He played at Tennessee, played for Pittsburgh, 6'2", about 220, 7-year NFL vet, has played 15 NFL games, started 5 with a 1-4 record as a starter. He's played with Buffalo. He's played with the Raiders, a couple stints with the Raiders, the Bears, the Saints, most recently with the Falcons. 7-year vet. He's now 31. Hasn't had a lot of success in the NFL. 4 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. As I said, 5 starts. He's 1-4. He's got 1 career win as a starter. So he's the second quarterback. The third quarterback, who's probably the first quarterback, to be honest, is Desmond Ridder, the former 3rd-round pick by the Atlanta Falcons in the 2022 draft out of Cincinnati. This guy was a 2-time Conference Player of the Year award winner at Cincinnati. He was a really good player. He's got good size, 6'3", 207 pounds. He's only 26 years of age. He's already played. The Niners would be, if they signed him, it would be his 6th NFL team. He's played for Atlanta. 3rd-round pick by Atlanta in 2022. He's played for Arizona. He's played for the Raiders, Cincinnati, Minnesota. 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions career. Doesn't have a huge arm, a little slender, 8-10 record as a starter in 18 NFL starts. He's young, though, and he's got some experience, and he's got some talent. I don't love any of those guys, to be honest. I like Ridder the most of those 3 by far, but I don't really like any of those 3. So there you go. Desmond Ridder, Nathan Peterman, and Quentin Dormady were the 3 quarterbacks brought in. Now, I think the receivers are actually a little bit more interesting. Let's talk about the receivers. There's 4 receivers they brought in. One was Juice Wells, Antoine Wells. They call him Juice. He started at James Madison. Played at South Carolina, eventually transferred to Ole Miss. He's a 24-year-old wide receiver who was an undrafted free agent signing by the New York Giants. 4.58 speed, one-time very productive player in the SEC, first team All SEC. 6'1", about 200 pounds, 4.58 speed, kind of a long strider. He's from Richmond, Virginia. Good run after the catch power. I mean, this guy is not a guy that you want to have to run down. If he gets ahead of steam, he's a tough guy to bring to the ground. He really is. So that's one of the names at wide receiver, Antoine Juice Wells. Another wide receiver they worked out is Eli Pancol, who's a 25-year-old former Duke Blue Devil, undrafted out of Duke, 6'3", 205 pounds. He's from the state of Indiana, was a four-star high school recruit, and good size, 6'3", 205, good athlete. 4.4 flat speed, 36-inch vertical, 23 reps, which shows great strength. And he was a good player at Duke. He really was. Now, I don't know about his ability to separate at the next level, but 4.4 flat speed is there's nothing to sneeze at there. He's an interesting player. Panko's an interesting player for sure. The third receiver that they looked at is a guy named Eric Azukanma. Eric Azukanma played at Texas Tech, 6'2", 210 pounds. He's gotten cups of coffee with Miami and Jacksonville. He's a Texas kid. He's from Fort Worth, one of 7 kids in his family. Good size, pretty good speed, 4.55 speed. He's an interesting guy, and he's had some success in the NFL. He had a preseason game where he had 6 catches for 114 yards with the Dolphins. I'm going to share the screen and let you take a look at this guy. He's interesting. This is a guy who's definitely got some juice. Eric Ezukanma, 25-year-old, 6'2", 210 from Texas Tech, 4.55 speed. Interesting guy. Now, the guy that I like the most on this list is Andrew Armstrong. And Armstrong's interesting. He led the SEC in receptions and in receiving yards in 2024 at Arkansas. And he's a huge receiver. I mean, we're talking about a very big receiver, 6'4", 210. He's 24. He's got really good ball skills. Started off at Texas A&M Commerce and then transferred to Arkansas. Really good ball skills, was an undrafted player out of Miami, ran 4.51, so just marginal. But first team All SEC. First team All SEC and a big receiver who can high point the football and make catches. So interesting group of receivers for sure. Juice Wells has a lot of talent. Eric Azukanma Ezukanma also is a talented guy. And then Andrew Armstrong is another big angular receiver. He would be the biggest receiver the 49ers have, but he also has some ability to move. At 4.51, I'm not even sure if that was his best effort. I kind of thought of him as like a 4.47 guy, 4.48. I thought he was a sub 4.5 guy. And I think he might be able to improve on that time. But, he's the youngest of this group. And he's an interesting player. I mean, to me, the two guys that are the youngest would be the guys I'd be interested in. Andrew Armstrong and Antoine Juice Wells. So Armstrong is got great height, great production in the SEC. Antoine Juice Wells is a really powerful run after the catch guy. I think he could be an excellent run after the catch player in the NFL. So those would be the two guys. None of those receivers are slouches. But if I had to choose one, I'd take Antoine Juice Wells. If I had to take two, I like Juice Wells and Andrew Armstrong. Quarterback wise, of these three, I definitely like Ritter the most. I'm not a Nathan Peterman fan. I've always felt he was too slow in his progressions. I don't know tons about Quentin Dormady, but Ritter's a decent prospect. I don't love him. But he's not, there are worse prospects out there than Desmond Ritter for sure. But those receiver prospects are interesting. Juice Wells would be nice. Andrew Armstrong would be nice. Those would be great additions for the 49ers practice squad. I think I'm looking around the 49ers room, and, it's as far as wide receivers go, it's all right. I mean, it's like you got Bourne and Pearsall and Jennings, Sky Moore, Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Watkins, MVS. It's just kind of So I mean, Watkins I think is going to be a really good player. Demarcus Robinson's a really good player. Bourne has played really well. Jennings and Pearsall, or if they're healthy, are good. And then practice squad wise, the 49ers have Russell Gage, Junior Bergen, and Malik Turner. And I don't like any of those guys, to be honest. Gage ain't bad. He's all right. Bergen's nothing, and Malik Turner's nothing. I would love to see the Niners add a Juice Wells or an Andrew Armstrong, a developmental wide receiver that potentially they could develop into a starter at the position who could really help them. I think those receivers they looked at are quite a bit better than these guys. And I think Wells could really be nice. I mean, I think he would be a very nice addition for the 49ers. So there you go. There are the workouts. 3 quarterbacks, 4 wide receivers, seven players in all. No official announcement if they've signed any of those guys. They did work out some defensive linemen earlier in the week, and they signed Bruce Hector, the former New York Jet, who has a great motor, more of a practice squad player than anything else. But this is where the NFL is. You have to keep adding depth. You got to keep discovering players. You got to keep developing players on your practice squad. And Antoine Juice Wells and Andrew Armstrong would be very nice acquisitions at the wide receiver position. I would give both those a thumbs up. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sleeper for sponsoring this video. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.